Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. And I am making this video because some of you requested a bit more information on what I started talking about yesterday. Those videos are on YouTube and on Facebook about the vision I had of this beautiful, magnificent plasmic Christos frequency ray that's coming through. And before I made it, I was like, okay, what wants to happen? Before I press play here, I was like, what wants to happen? And essentially, it felt like let's do a little, coherence, mind coherence, heart mind coherence, regulation, so nervous system regulation, because this is all key to this frequency. That rhymes. And pull a card, pull some cards, allow the information to flow through. We're going to, add to the message. And I was like, okay, let's see what happens. This kind of field of information that's coming through, and a lot of people are starting to pick up on it, I think, now as well. Um, you know, it doesn't really have a start date, it's been happening for a while. These are just new sequences of it moving through. And I was kind of going, I scribbled out some very bad drawings earlier because I don't know how to make the videos with AI stuff and all that. But I was like, okay, if I'm to describe this vision, is this one pertinent? And I got yes. So I'm going to show you something that came through very, very strongly back in January 2025. And for me, my journey in essence shifted then and is what it is now. And the reason, I was actually with a girl called Olive Lynch when this vision happened, because I was trying to figure out what was going on, what am I feeling, because I was tapping in a lot to the collective along with my own stuff, and this is what was brought through. So the very first cards I'm pulling, and it's from Work Your Light, and this is just a general info. My throat is clearing even before I start. One of the things I'm also going to mention before I started is I was pushed, pulled, invited to hold a gathering in February, March. We ended, I think, the first week of April this year with the Christos frequency. It was called the Christos Spiral Gathering. Hello to all the beautiful souls that joined me on that. But that was kind of out of the blue, wasn't planned by me. How's that true? Because you're the one who ran it. I'm like, yeah, but it was literally I, the Christos frequency in energetic form coming in as light beings saying, hey, here's some info for you that was personal to me. And then it was like, will you do this with us? And I was like, what? And they're like, we want you to host a gathering. We will tell you what's in it and we will pick this, invite the souls that want to be there. I said I didn't have to do anything. I advertised one post and in 48 hours it was sold out. I've never had that happen. And I had not been online in months, right? I've been doing my own thing. I've been offline, and I just popped on, and it was, I was told week one is this, week two is that, week three, and I was typing it out. They were standing, and I just typed out what was said, and boom, it was completely channeled through in that moment without any planning or knowing. And it was not to be called a workshop, it was not to be called a course, because it wasn't. It was a gathering in a creation and a co-creation into the relationship with ourselves and with what we would term the Christos Christ frequency energy. And it was Christos Sophia, right? So the divine masculine, divine feminine, that would be considered the Christ frequency. I mean, we could call the being that came into me Yeshua. That's how it, the truth of that presented with me. So that was this year, the start of this year. And what's linked into this plasmic wave coming through, it has a lot to do with that Christ, Magdalena, Christ, Miriam, Christos, Sophia energy sequence. It's going to be a bit of a lightning spark, both within us, right? But also within the general collective field. Now, what I'm calling the general collective field is really like it's a netting structure around Earth. If we were to say there's an invisible net, I don't know if there's a better way to say this, force field, net, threads, weaves around Earth with specific coding sequences that, and this is part of that vision that came in 2025. It's not new. It's just how the vision came through to me in that moment. Is seeing Earth and this net around her. The net is made up of codes in geometry and mathematics. These codes, geometry, and mathematics have been manipulated. They are not the natural codes, right? They're not our natural essence, our natural soul codes, or natural earth codes. They've been computed, alterated, or distorted, if you will. And there are certain forces, without going into this kind of heavy stuff, but there are certain forces at play that benefit if humanity, if the collective of humanity is within a constraint of the revolution. And these codes, this netting structure kind of keeps people under, keeps people down. We see it in the politics, we see it in the education systems, we see it in the banking systems, we see it in the destruction of the earth mother, right? That's what those coding sequences create, total distortion. And then within us, we are electromagnetic beings. We have an auric field, a biofield around us, right? A toroidal field, whatever word you have for that. We have an energy field around us. Our energy field is made up of a specific soul frequency, a code as well, right? And you already know this. You might not think about it this way, but you know, if your eyes are closed and you're in a dark room and somebody comes into the room, now you don't smell them, you maybe don't hear them, let's just say, but you get a sense someone's in the room and you know who is it? It's your son, it's your daughter, it's your brother, it's your sister, it's your mom, it's your dad, it's your husband, it's your wife, whatever. That's the same thing. It's like you're computing the specific code of that person without using your senses, like your visible everyday senses. There's a knowing in you because your field picks up their code and you know it's them, right? Now, that code, they know your code in the net, if you want to call it that, right? I say they, these forces, these things, have an idea about what your code is. If we're unawake, if we've been born into that, if we've, been computed into that. I drew this very badly, like a child's drawing, to give you an idea about how this was shown. So this is our Earth, this one here, right? And this is like the netting sequence here. The netting sequence leads into something out here, which I would call they, them, the forces that be, the vampiric, succubi, eating the misery and trauma created on Earth through the structures and systems that we have installed here, to keep us at a specific frequency, a vibrational threshold. So if you imagine this is like a computer program, right, in here, and it's like an artificial AI before we even had AI, this is linked into this net, and they're able to say, okay, compute, there's going to be war here, or strife here, or blah, 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 or we're going to have thought creations of this in this groups, or on Earth at this moment in time. And they compute that. And all it is then is when we are at a certain level, we'll pick that up, a level of energy, a level of vibrational matching. We'll pick up the code they're putting through and we'll then create it. We have free will, but if we're not awake and aware, we can fall into the loops and the patterns of a dysfunctional, destructive creation. Okay? Why would powers that be want to do that? They feed from that negative energy. That's what they feed from. For them, it's just power as well. And there is an agreement. It's a subtle agreement. Now, you can even look at this from the biblical point of view, right? You can totally apply the Bible to this and use different words that I'm using, because I ended up realizing that. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Okay, there is a total correlation with what I'm saying and even what the Bible says. They're just using different language to explain a concept of the vision that I saw. I only saw that much later, like a couple of months later, I realized that. So they affect, because our nervous systems, our consciousness is in this field as well, they're able to kind of throw codes at us. And if we're at a level of receiving them, we'll pick it up and we'll act it out. They also can affect everyone else around us. So what I noticed in 2025 is I was reaching a threshold, a vibrational threshold, let's put it that way. And I was having all this SH1T coming at me constantly. And I was like, okay, why is this creating this way? Why is this feeling here? Why is this person reacting this way? There's no logic in this. There's no sense in this. This is something else, because I felt something was off. And it was something, I was working through my own stuff, but it was something else as well outside of me. I was aware of that, because you could call that, you feel like it's an attack, or you could call it, you feel like there's something, else at play. And this is when that vision came through, because I was recognizing every time I was moving through a threshold of my own self, something else was coming at me. And what I then had in the vision is, when you reach a threshold, a personal threshold, or there's this for the collective as well, a collective threshold, it's as if you were to call this AI kind of powers that be, an alarm bell goes off, a signal goes off. And it's like I could see this thing here, which is like, if you were to imagine a computer program, this was like beep, 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 beep. And it was like going down to earth, and it was going, oh, so-and-so here on earth is at 65.6 million hertz, whatever. I'm just making that up, right? Let's send in something, and they will send something in, whether it's you personally, and if you don't pick it up, then it's going around the people around you, and you will see something come through people. There'll be stops, there'll be pushes, there'll be everything kind of goes to SH1T, and you're like, what's going on? They'll say something, and it's out of the person's character to be this way. It's when it's as if something's taken over them, and they'll say something, and you're just like, whoa, their eyes just changed doing that. What's happening? Their voice changed. And then they'll flip back into their normal selves. And if you're very, very attuned and attentive, you'll notice these microsecond stuff, and that's the program working through them without them knowing it, especially if they're not aware. You can even apply a biblical thing to this, right? Which I'm not going there today, but you totally can. So this is what I was noticing. Accidents happening. Now, this is because a certain threshold can be reached. You'll see, it's as if physical things will try to stop you. Car accidents. Oh, it's just mad, right? When I was looking at it, absolutely mad. And in that, you can feel a little powerless, which is what happened. And then I was like, wait a minute. This is not true. This is not what I'm choosing to create or allowed to be created around me without my consent. And the minute that came through, I talked this through with my husband using kind of different languaging, but yeah, it became apparent that that was a specific code being shot out into the sphere. And if it's code, if it's like a virus, you can decode it with an antivirus. We are the master creators of our universe. The kingdom of heaven is within us. Now, this kept repeating to me when I did that Christos gathering as well. I kept being heaven on earth. The kingdom is within you, which means you're the master creator. We have been given that power. And even, I'm going to say the Bible says, we have dominion over earth, right? That's in Genesis, I think. We've forgotten that. And we're here to remember, which is part of remembering who we be. So once that clicked in me with the light language, out came a decode. And the minute that happened, I could see complete falling apart of all those coding sequences. I was with Olive at the time. She witnessed it, and she also felt it. And she was experiencing it in her way through her life at the time. And after that happened, that was it. All the ruckus stopped. It was just mad to see that, to witness that, to understand that, and then to embody it and kind of go, wow, okay, I need to remember this, right? So at the same time, while that was happening, we put the decode sequence, and I will do a light language transmission now with the decode sequences for you to receive, and you can do the same thing if this aligns with you. How I'm explaining this may be totally different to how someone else chooses to explain it. At the same time, I was shown timelines. There are now simultaneous timelines happening. Multiple, we already know this, but I'm going to speak of 3 only, because the 3 are the big ones that the collective tap into. So not your individual one, this would be the collective. Here is this 3D matrix. If you're in this is the matrix, you know, the netting and the force field and the AI trying to control Earth, blah, 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 and loosh and da, 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 da. This timeline is linked into that, where people are not awake, they're asleep, they're doing the 9 to 5, there's no love, there's no huge enlightenment in their life, right? They're not really on their mission, their sole purpose, they're cogs in a wheel. I was that, right? I still enjoyed my life, but I was that. I wasn't fully realizing all that I am. Wow, look at that, my throat, because I'm still on that journey. So this is the first timeline I'm talking about. That's the ones that are not quite awake yet. The plasmic wave coming through is going to shake this the F up and shake the people up as well. You're going to have people suddenly open their eyes and go, whoa, where am I? Who am I? What's happening? And I said yesterday in my video as well, I always think about the Zoolander movies 1 and 2, which are very, very funny. Where Derek Zoolander and Hansel are like, who am I? And Neil deGrasse Tyson comes on, he's like, who am I? It's just really funny. But that's the same thing. They're going to be waking up going like, who am I? And that's kind of the first thing, isn't it? The first step. So that's going to happen with this timeline. But this is the collective one that is controlled exclusively with this force field. The second timeline is something that was created, how I saw Innovision, through CERN, okay? It has been master planned for the last 200 years. This particular timeline has been in the works for 200 years, 150 years, by the physical peoples that do be the powers that be, that are controlled by the other extra, interdimensional powers that be. These are interdimensional beings that I'm speaking about here, an interdimensional consciousness, if you will. CERN gave them access, or something that is like CERN, right? It's been created. This timeline has been kind of a branch off of something that happened a number of years ago. This is how I saw it, whether it's true or not, whatever. But this is how I saw it. This looks like, oh, this is a different timeline, right? It's a different timeline. It is a different timeline. This timeline looks like there's an evolutionary pathway. Who am I? Oh, I'm finding out who I am. Yay. Who am I? Oh, I'm growing and I'm releasing trauma. That's what it looks like when we're in this one. It's a false light. This is false light, a false light timeline created by this timeline. And now it's simultaneous. Now it's at the same time, right? It is working parallel now. And this is where when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I'm in this. I need to check. I was like, oh, I better discern. Because I got a little bit freaked out when I witnessed this. This is false Christ light, false information, misinformation, false occult, false Vedic, false whatever you want to call it, false gods, false information, false light. I cannot emphasize that enough. The thing is, it feels freaking real. We have to be super careful that we don't fall in or fall out of that or step from one into the other without realizing. Listen to people that are on it and take what they're saying as truth, because it'll be like 98% true. And the 2% are what will keep you stuck. Oh, I'm swallowing. Because I have to say, I'm still like, better really feel into this. What's true, what's not true? What am I connecting to? What am I not connecting to? And it has changed completely how I channel. I no longer channel the way I used to or the way I allowed to channel. I have shifted that because this is very much in my awareness of potential that could happen if you're not very, very careful in what you're inviting into your field and whom you're communicating to, and discerning when you do communicate with anything, any voices, any energies, any apparitions, that you are checking all the way through, because this false white light will feel good. It will feel good. It might even look good. You might start even looking good. And suddenly, you're going to reach another threshold. So if you remember, there is a threshold frequency bandwidth for here. And once you get past that, they're going to send their attackers, their bots, to try to bring you back down again so you won't reach any higher. On this one, they've up-leveled. They've given more bandwidth for the frequency shift. They've said, okay, we can't bring them back down, but we will let them get maybe another 200. I'm just using hertz because I'm just making this up, by the way. The numbers are just made up. We'll give them another 200 hertz to play with. They'll think they're on the right path. They'll think they're in their purpose, but we're going to recycle them and loop them back in again. It's going to be a loop, like a cult, if you want to call it that. It'll look great from the outside. It might even feel good for a while. And then suddenly, just like in a cult, the shit hits the fan, okay? So that's that false light one. That's a simultaneous timeline working its way in humanity as well. What we don't want to happen with this is the people that are here, bless their souls, that are waking up going, who am I? Find this and end up on this. We don't want that happening. Right? And I say we as the collective, we that understand this is a potential, because these are all potentials. The third one, because I'm only working with 3, okay, because it's too much if you went into everything. The third one, and I've changed it. It's not a line, right? It's like a spiral. And this was the spiral I was working with, the Christos spiral in the gathering. Now, this is what I'm calling, and it's not real name, it's just what I'm calling it, because otherwise I can't make sense of these visions, right? So if you were calling this, and the words I'm using are limiting, and I don't like them, I don't have better ones, but this is the best. I'm calling this the false white light. This is the lower timeline. It's not, it's the 3D timeline. I have no better word for this. And then this is what I'm calling the source timeline, you know, the Christ timeline, source timeline. This is our true source code. This is the original coding that we're created with. God code, right? And this is the timeline associated with that, where we're entering into the remembrance of that, right? It's not like we're being created in that. We're already created in that. We're here to remember that. This is that timeline of remembrance, truth, not truth because everybody has their own truth. Not that absolute truth, truth of source, right? This one has a lot of confusion, this false light one. There will always be a lot of confusion on it. And it's not to say on this that we don't move. Now you can see with the spiral, it's not yay and up, you're moving through, right? And our blueprints move that way through, like our soul blueprint, we move through our soul blueprints that way as well. I posted a video about the bees in one of my groups, the Christos group, because a man was showing how a bee stung him, and he was showing we don't have to hurt the bee, they don't have to die, they don't have to lose their stinger. They will do this. They'll wind down deeper, and then they'll wind up, and then they'll wind down again a little deeper, and then they wind up a little more. And then they wind down again a little deeper, and then wind up a little bit more and more and more until they free themselves. That's kind of like how we move through this one, because we're going to move through what's not true a little bit and then come out into a deeper awareness and truth. And it might look like you're taking a step up and a step back and a step, but you're like the bee. You are moving through. You are working your way out. Because this is expansion. So that source timeline, Masuya Sabda is the codes coming through in the plasmic wave are all going to be about anchoring this deeper within ourselves, remembering more of who we be. Who am I? Derek Zoolander, right? He's going to remember who he truly is. He's not just a model, very, very beautiful model, right? He's not just super, super, super good looking. He's going to understand. Why am I using that now as an analogy? He's going to understand the absolute truth of all that he be, right? He's not just super, super good looking, but he is the all and the everything. he is superhuman in a way once he's able to realize that. Because it's about remembering. And I didn't mention that yet, but I have it written here to remind myself, in the lower timeline, the matrix timeline. And this, I was shown this at the same time, like this vision is like, it's like split seconds, but I'm given multiple pieces of information in the one vision. And I didn't draw this out, but you can look it up. Maybe if I edit this, maybe I'll put it in. There's dead geometry. This is filled with dead geometry, right? And geometry is part of sound, vibration, geometry, light, weight. That's what makes up the universe or the quantum field, right? And in the Bible, it's the same thing. Abunda Bashmaya, sound, light, vibration. It is the quantum field, the divine field. In this, it's the 10 Cathara grid. I didn't know what it was when I saw it, and I was like, what are these spheres I'm seeing? And it's the 10 Cathara grid. That's a dead geometry. And then I was showing this timeline, I was showing a 12 Cathara grid, and that's what I've written here. And it's 12. Now, I've never studied this. It made no sense when I was seeing it, but I was shown that because I ended up with Olive bringing through the sound baths we ended up doing, and each level was linked into a specific sphere on this Cathara grid because it was a journey through, but I didn't know that at the time, and we haven't finished them yet either. But I was shown like 12 Cathara grid, and then I was shown the 12 DNA, and I was shown the 12 the planetary systems. I was just shown that type of geometry everywhere. And then they made a very loud distinction. They kept saying 12 to the 13, 12 to the 13. 12 becomes the 13. And then if you do the Cathara grid, which is that creates the 13th. Okay. And I was like, I don't understand. What are you talking? And it's like 13 is what we're working towards. Now, I have seen 2 or 3 other channelers say this after I had brought this through back in 2025. And I had not talked about this publicly. I only talked about this with people that were near me, like Olive and a couple of other folks that were in my groups. And you'd have heard me talk about it. Recently, Jerry Sargent started talking about it. And I've heard Kalina start talking about it. Malnar, and I've heard one other person. So they're saying it different, but it's the same thing. They're bringing maybe even different aspects of what I'm saying, but it's the same thing. It's connected to the same frequency code bandwidth. The 12 becomes the 13. This is about life, right? This is about life. It is life-giving, and it is about the continuation of life. This is about death, anti-life, anti-Christ, right? Anti-life, anti-Christ. Anything. It's like black holes sucks. This is like a black hole sucking energy, and it'll never be fed. It'll never be satisfied. That's the 10 Cathara grid system. Is there anything else that came through on that? Yeah, a lot of soul readings that have come through, and I was even in a workshop last year. March last year, where this came up, anti-matter, anti-life again, that frequency came up, and I have seen it in people in certain soul readings, and it looked like black goo. Now, some of you that maybe do Reiki, because I've talked to somebody who does Reiki and bioenergy, they're like, oh, black goo, I was coming across it, and it's like this sticky anti-life vibration. That is what is going to start shifting with this plasmic ray coming through as well. Because that frequency that is anti-life, and I saw it myself as well, right? And I saw it myself. I was working it through myself. I've seen it in other people. We've worked with it. We've cleared it. Many people out there are probably recognizing as I'm speaking this, they're like, I've seen this before. I felt it before. I understand this frequency that she's speaking about. Suicide ideation. What's the point? Why am I here? I don't want to be here. I'm not meant to be here. This is not my home. That's linked into the antimatter, anti-life, because this black goo is not of our universe. So when I had another vision, which is like, I'm kind of spreading these all out, it's all connected. Everything is connected. There was a tear within our universal system. and it wasn't supposed to happen. Well, everything is supposed to happen in the greater sense, but this energy came into um, our universe, and it's linked to the fall. Again, if you go biblical, it's linked to the fall. It's linked to when that consciousness fell. This is linked to that, and that's when that came through as an energetic signature, black goo, anti-life. Anti-life is all connected into the creation of this matrix as well. They use and utilize that frequency and that goo as implants, as mind control stuff, distortion creation. If I am to go back to, there are multiple timelines of Christ as well as the energy, not just one, but I'm going to just focus on one. If we're to go back to Christ as the sacrifice, now I'm talking Yeshua, we're going back. This is getting a bit more in-depth than I thought it would be. Okay, if I'm to go back to Yeshua as the being that walked the earth 2,000 years ago, that we recognized in the timelines that we're in now, right? Not parallel, not anything else, just this one. The frequency of his messaging was love, right? Love one another, love yourself. I'm distilling it down. It's also remember, and it's also the kingdom is within you, which means you have the power, which just kind of feels like a superhero movie. Remember who you are, you have the power, and through love you have the power. Yeshua worked with what in our language, in the English language they call it our Father, but he said beloved, and that word, which is abun in Aramaic, abun the bashmaya, and we worked with that in our group as well. We worked with the Aramaic, the abun the bashmaya. They've directly translated that to our Father. It is a masculine word, but it means beloved. But you also have connotations of the sound, the light, and the vibration, which is the creation, the Big Bang. Word made flesh. Word, vibration, made flesh, right? I'm going to take a breath. It's a lot of information. I think I'm giving too much information. And I want to ensure that we regulate as well. Yeah, I'm checking in. Like, do I reel this back a bit? Go ahead, go on. Okay, so the Christ as the being that brought through. What I was going there with is, we're not really taught this, but the masculine and the feminine, the divine masculine, divine feminine, divine father, divine mother. Christ talked about that. It's just the languaging was different. Beloved, which is the logos, which is the masculine, our Father, and Holy Spirit, Ruach, Shekinah, divine mother, feminine womb of creation, within the quantum field. That's the Holy Spirit. So he worked with both those forces, and you needed both. You needed a relationship with both, right? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. You must have the Holy Spirit. You must have the Holy Spirit. You must embody the Holy Spirit. The feminine. So it's often explained differently, depending on what you're brought up with, but that's kind of what I've discovered on my journey for me. Discern yourself on that. Filter it through your own information systems and what feels true. The sacrifice, which is again, this is made out of sacrifice, right? That's what they're feeding through, sacrificial energy. And Christ realized, poor man realized, because he was on a journey of realization. He was born and he was realizing himself more and more and more. He didn't wake exactly the way he was. He's super powerful, the most ever. There has never been a soul as powerful as Christ, ever, so far. and so connected. Masakiyate itke, especially for the times he was in the density that he was in. Anyways, that sacrifice frequency he discovered in Gethsemane while he was bleeding sweat, literally sweat, blood, tears coming out of his whole body, that it was going to be a sacrifice and he would be the one to give the sacrifice. And he was coming to terms with that. But in that sacrifice and in the realization he has the power to come back to life, because that is, in yogic terms, that is a specific yoga, and there are Vedics that do that. They die and they come back to life, and they hold that element of power. But when Christ did it, that's when he dispersed the Christos codes, right? On his death and resurrection, the energy that was burst out was so massive, it was embedded in this field. This is where there isn't, all hope isn't lost, ever, right? The codes, and this is how I've seen this recently, are getting brighter and brighter. If you're to imagine this is netting, every little box has a code of Christ in it, right? As a potential for us to say yes to. Free will reigns. We must say yes, and that's part of what's creating the awakening. These little light bulb Christ code things with the wave that's coming in, I don't have that drawn, but that wave that's coming in is going to really blast those open more. It's going to be, it's kind of breaking this down. It's breaking this field down. Is that true? I'm getting told yes, in a way, it's restructuring it. Which will shift bandwidths. So even this will move up an octave again. It'll shift the bandwidths, but it'll create an awakening, an opportunity for huge awakening and potential. And this is the gift, I feel like Christ gave such a gift in this. The resurrection frequency, death to life. You can see how this is playing out in the stories, even with me saying like, oh yeah, this is the death line, you know, anti-life line. And this is the lifeline, right? That power resides within each of us. The power of life, right? And it's a command. We command ourselves back to life. We command ourselves. That takes, you know, the power of all that we be. I command life to every single cell in my body. I command life to my speech. I command life to my heart. I command life to my womb. I command life to my mind. I command life into a Christ mind. Through sacred heart, right? That command frequency. And have I mastered this? No, I have not. I'm still on the journey towards embodying this more. I got itchy nose when I say no, I have not, because I'm getting told to reframe. Right now, my languaging, because languaging is really important. We create with our languaging. I am remembering that I command life there. That's what I had to reframe it as. I'm getting told off, right? Simya, sam, suya, sam. And this is a level of awareness that we're being invited into constantly. The plasmic light codes that are coming through are here to change our stories. Who am I? They're to change the stories of who we think we are. How amazing is that? Wow, like incredible. That potential is there. And in a way, it's almost like all of the distortion about I'm bad, I'm not good enough, I'm poor, I'm lack, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm resentful, I'm bitter, I am not, I can't. All of that. I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, blah, 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 blah. Like, think of anything that is that. I'm not gifted enough. I'm not powerful enough. That's what I've been looking at. Right? That's an undercurrent that I've had in my unconscious mind. And it got really loud recently because this code is making it loud. Everything's going to get really loud. That's your undercurrents, your undercurrent thoughts that you don't consciously hear out loud, but they're running you in the background. That's going to get loud. The purity of our hearts will be really important for us to burst that out open. In other words, discern all the lies and say no. In order to do that, our nervous systems must be regulated. It is very, very difficult for us to shift our consciousness, change how we think, which changes our behaviors, which changes our words, which changes how we be and our habits. Like, we're not the same person. Our nervous systems need to be regulated in order to facilitate the amount of light that it is taking for that type of rebirth. And that's rebirth, born again. To use another analogy from the Bible. Right? And when we are born again, there will still be recircuitry to rewire, even in the brains. The power, which is what Christ wanted everybody to remember. We have the power to heal. We have the power to move mountains. If we would have the faith of a mustard seed, we can move mountains. He meant it literally as well as figuratively. Right? Mountain be gone and the mountain crumbles. That's the type of power. Just as he calmed the storms and the waves and walked on water, that's the type of power. Now that's a command of the elements. And when we have that faith and we remember who we be, we understand we have command over the elements, over earth. We work with her, right? That's through love. Only ever done through love. Never command through anything other than love. That's another key, because I have a lot of memories of other lifetimes where we commanded, but we weren't in love, and that was for power, greed, lust, whatever it was, right? Command only through love, because we have the right, the dominion in our flesh bodies to do that. Usikia, nothing else does. We do. We are that powerful. Has anybody been playing with the weather? Has anybody been playing with the wind? Has anybody been playing, right? Brushing away the chemtrails? I've been playing with this through love and seeing it happen before my eyes. That is possible. It takes a lot of energy for me to do that. Sometimes I get tired and we have to understand how it works. I'm still understanding this. And I'm still moving through quite a lot of doubt. I'm getting told, change your language again. Doubt is leaving me as I continue to practice this. Good, I'm being told. Good. Look at that. Real time, you're seeing what's happening. Right. Nervous systems, releasing the old identities, being together and working together. Why am I back out online again? And, being visible is just so... I have to stretch myself to speak out. To be visible again with Tietke, and there's a part of me that loves it, and there's a part of me that's like, oh, I'm really comfortable just living my day-to-day life with my beautiful family and my husband in a beautiful place. And then there's the other part that is getting pushed, and spirit's doing that, like share, speak, be in your purpose more. So being together will provide us mirrors and witnesses. And in order for a lot of the transitions to stick, and I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this, like you feel a massive change after something, maybe a session, maybe a workshop, maybe a weekend somewhere, maybe you spend time with somebody and you're like, oh my God, everything's changed and I'm seeing everything with new eyes. And then you kind of go back to your old life and it doesn't stick. The witnessing helps everything stick. Being witnessed helps it stick. And helps that new frequency land as well. So witnessing, I wrote it down because it wanted to be mentioned out loud, okay? Asiya katia makatatu. I'll have to do a separate video on the nervous system alone because there is so much information that's come through on that. I will do a separate video on that. And I'll do something, I'll link that into the tubules because it's linked into the brain and the circuitry systems, which I spoke briefly on yesterday because I had to look up what the microtubules were in the brain, and I was being shown that they are quantum and how they interact with the quantum field in nature. They also contain what they are now calling, scientists are calling plasma, which is elements of ether, light. Okay, let's take a breath in. There's a lot of information, wasn't it? I pulled 3 cards. First card for the collective. Protection. Call back your power. Everything is about us remembering so that we are more in our power through love. And we're not giving our power away to any entity, place, thing, situation, institution, any person, any fear, any doubt. We're here to call our power back. Soul retrieval. So any part of us that are outside of ourselves, that plasmic wave is going to make that really apparent. So it's going to be really uncomfortable for people that are not in their bodies. The whole nature of us coming to Earth is to be in our bodies. It's been my toughest journey. Okay? I'm really good at living kind of from the heart up. Can channel and I'll live from the heart up and it's still love, but no. Where do we create from? Down deep, right? So the power of creation is embodying deeper and deeper and deeper, rooting more into ourselves and lining up everything all the way up to source, all the way down to earth. Protection. This is linked to the nervous system. So maybe I'm talking about it. We're being asked now and invited just to all that information that kind of activates the brain and the left and the right, particularly the left because the logic is trying to make sense of it. Let's take a breath. I'm brushing my field and I'm inviting myself to soften the jaw, soften the throat, soften the chest, soften the shoulders. I'm yawning because I'm starting to regulate just by softening. My tummy goes out, my belly is going out and in as I exhale. So I'm going to invite you to let that tummy go out on your inhale. And if you're sitting down, your feet's on the floor and you really feel your hips in the chair, the bed, the couch, wherever you're sitting. Feel yourself supported. And just breathe. I'm going to put a hand on my belly, a hand on my heart. I'm doing a double inhalation. First inhalation is chest, second is the tummy because I'm just testing the expansion of my diaphragm, stretching it. The reason I'm doing that is if the nervous system's in shock, fight, flight, fawn, fight even, that could be tight. So I'm just testing it in my body as I soften. And I soften and open the perineum, the sitting space, the back passage. And I'm just going to soften my jaw. Take your fingers up, massage your jaw. really do this with me. Don't just watch me do it. But recognize that as I am doing it, I'm calling forth Masukiyara Tariyama, your holographic fields, and commanding that this is also done for you. Samasakatava. But bringing your hands to your own face, your own body, your own touch, signals to your nervous system you're safe as well. Calming touch, Masuya Siki, pressure touch, Makuri Antre Karakareti. Now, the fascia have been coming up a lot because they're saying a plasmic force runs through our fascia systems. We have structured water there, EZ water. And this is also allowing ether, plasmic forces to flow through our bodies. We have it in our brains with the microtubules, we have it in our fascia. When our fascia have been compromised through emotional trauma, stress, even physical trauma like incisions and surgeries and accidents, things like that, we need to open the adhesions, kind of open it up and let everything resettle. So there's another release. So I work a lot because I get a lot of tension in my neck. I work a lot here, especially recently. I've been grinding when I felt that pressure build up. Capacity has been, there's so much information. Our capacities are also being stretched, right? When you say threshold, capacity as well. And with capacity, it's not just the capacity for light, it's also the capacity that we're holding of what's not serving us. Dysregulation. And that's going to get like a pressure cooker unless we keep the valves open and keep releasing every day. Nature, talking, open-hearted talking about what you're feeling, exercise, sunlight, morning sunlight, evening sunlight to regulate and co-regulate your mitochondria, your hormonal functions, good food, asiatka, song, dance, singing, session work. So whether it's talk therapy, energy therapy, physical therapy, any type of therapy, put anything there like hypnosis, TRE, horse, equine therapy, whatever it is, sound bath therapy, what I was doing, right? Hypnotic therapy, which is what I was also doing in that sound bath on Saturday. So, and we did the physical vagal toning and we did physical vagal nervous reset stuff. We did exercises to facilitate the body to move into that space and release. We need to be doing that all the time and bring your awareness, like, what am I feeling right now? Bring our awareness. Let's pattern interrupt my thoughts. Anywhere I'm having thoughts that are negative, pattern interrupt, reframing. Allowing the motion to flow through. The nervous system operates on, did a stimuli that happened, was the emotion or the fear or whatever it happened, the shock, was that allowed move through your nervous system and move through your body and release, or did it get stopped and stuck in the process? And if it stopped and stuck from fully flowing through, fully coming to its end, its natural end state, that's stretching our capacity as well, right? That's what's being stored in the fascia, in the nervous system, and the body. Hand behind the neck. I want you to massage the neck. You see me already popping. So my pops are yawns. I tend to yawn a lot. Watery eyes, saliva in the mouth, swallowing, sighing. These are all signs of our vagal nerve resetting, energy being released. Burping, any of those kind of things. Shaking is another one. Shaking in the body, right? That's the nerves, the nervous system energy moving through. So I'm now going to pull this direction with this hand, and I'm going to put a hand here and just open up my face and my neck. I'm kind of pushing up and pulling at the same time. Breathing. So I hold a lot of tension recently in my jaw and my neck. right? And it was frustration, right? For me, it was frustration. It's probably been going on for 3 months, and I'm catching it in the last month, going, oh, I didn't know that was building up. I wasn't letting it move through. I'm going to do the opposite side, right? So this hand here, I'm going to push up here. You do this with me. Oh. And shake out your hands. And I'm just going to massage across my brow. And any tension here. I'm inviting you to follow along with me. Anywhere we have any tension, we're releasing. I'm just going up here onto the eyebrows. Tapping under the eyes. And I'm pulling this way like that as well. Under here, this will help the lymph flow system. But there's also fascia under the eyes and the cheeks. So we're pulling up and we're maneuvering it this way. This is for sinus issues. Anytime you have sinus issues as well at an emotional level, it's frustration, it's anger, rage. And we're releasing that. Not being expressed, it can store in the sinuses as well. It's not being your truth, speaking your truth, or being around those that don't. Bullshit, literal bullshit stuck here. Excuse me as I burp. Where are all the stuff of me releasing right now? I'm pushing in to the muscles here, just inviting all of them to open and soften. There we go. So this is going to be really helpful for anybody that grinds their teeth, anybody that's clenching their jaw, anybody that's wearing a mask. And I was a queen of mask wearing. Irish people, I think, tend to do this a lot. How are you? I'm fine, thanks, fine. And things are not fine, but you never say that. You always say, I'm fine. Or grand, thanks, grand. And it's not. It's not grand and it's not fine. It's something else, but we don't say it, and that's a mask, right? So it's, oh, it's all fine. A false smile, right? It hasn't reached the eyes. This will get stored because you're not in your truth. You'll have teeth problems, you'll have tongue issues, you'll have throat issues, you'll have issues here. Anything compromising the nervous system compromises the immune system. Autoimmune disease. Who's had that, right? Fibromyalgia, I had that after an illness 10 years ago, and it was due to massive inflammation in the body, but I had continuous pain. And that is healed. Like, we can heal ourselves of anything. We can heal ourselves. We can have miraculous healing. Masuya Diaki. This is the power we have. This is what I'm going to keep saying. I am the miracle. You are the miracle. We command the power of miracles to flow through us, through Source, through Christos, Christ, through love. We have the power to bring the dead back to life. Now, how outrageous does that sound? How outrageous does that sound? But that's been coming into me this week. And I'm like, oh, how does that feel in my body when I start saying that? Oh, I have the power to bring the dead back to life. Oh, Mary, oh, you'll be locked up. But that's what we're being invited into with this freaking plasmic ray coming in. That is what it's calling us into, to step into that type of power. Are you raising the dead? Okay, I have not yet. But this is what Christ said. He said this. He did it. He showed it. He said, you will do it too and greater. I was listening to a testimony of a man in America who had this very same thought. And of course, when I'm thinking it, then I'm attracting other people that are obviously thinking it, and then I ended up listening to it because that's how the quantum field works, baby. And as I was listening to him, he talked about, and I am going more biblical now on this just because this was what I was looking at. He talked about, oh, if Christ brought people back to the dead, then he said I could do it, then I can do it. I just have to believe it. And he would not let doubt come in. He has and I have to admire that, like, that amount of faith is incredible when we witness it in people, right? That amount of faith. And he was like, I can do it too. And then he started dreaming about it. In his dreams, it was as if he was bringing people back to life that would die. He would have these scenarios in his dreams play out. And he'd wake up going, huh. Now, he didn't talk this way, but when he's saying that to me, he's working in the aethers. He's doing work in the other dimensions while he's sleeping and practicing this power so he embodies it in the physical. How many of you are doing this and don't even know you're doing it? You're at work at night and you're back in your body when you wake up the next day and you're like, whew, right? He started doing that in his sleep, his dreams. And then he started reading up. For him, he had his Bible. He was reading the Bible at the time. He started reading up the passages that this happened, where people were brought back to life in these passages. And then he said something interesting, because it was exactly the same thing that was said to us in our group and the Christos gathering a couple of months ago. I was told in the group, when I was praying, meditating and channeling, I was told about the Christ mind, and we were at the time working on the mind infusion of the Christ consciousness. And we were working on the hemispheres and the balancing of the hemispheres, research systems, a lot of energy work we were doing in that. Take a breath in, everybody. Maswa siya maswa. And when I do the light language groups, I talk about this as well. When I do those workshops, I talk about the higher imagination. And I was shown then a number of years ago that the imagination is not a bad thing. It's not false. We are always told that's just your imagination. Stop thinking that way. Stop talking that way. And Christ came through and was like, you're seeing this wrong. You're looking at this, look at my throat going talking about this. You're looking at this from a limited perspective. Open your eyes, open your mind. The imagination is a gateway, Mary. And the imagination is a gateway into the higher consciousness realms, the quantum field. And when you connect that to the Christ mind, you're accessing that power, which is what we see, what we speak, comes into existence. So this man was saying, he started reading his scripture, let's say Lazarus, right? That's the most obvious one. And he would imagine himself there with Christ. Now, I talked about this in the group as well. And I said, interesting. He's using the word imagination. Yes, there's the higher form of the higher imagination, which is a gateway into the consciousness, the quantum field. But some people don't realize that when they access that, and particularly if they're focusing on a specific place and time, and this is quantum hypnosis, they're timeline traveling. They're moving through time. They're moving through space. So was he really imagining it, or was he there witnessing? I'm going to use that word, witnessing again. And in observation, in witnessing, he is actually surrounded by that frequency. Can you feel this when I'm talking about it? So he is surrounded by the frequency of that potential happening in that moment, in that now, because all time is now. And when we see something, we also tend, oh yeah, I believe it. Now, the whole thing with Christ was like, Is seeing believing, or can you believe without seeing? That's the question. But in his imagination, or I would say in his timeline traveling, he was there and he felt that power move through Christ, and therefore he felt it and could imagine it moving through him, or he opened himself up to it, and then it did. Because he said, kid you not, folks, after I did these exercises, these play exercises, because everything done in play doesn't mean you have to get it right. It's just an experiment. It's just play. And I work a lot with play in the light language groups. All of you that know me is like, it's crucial for us to move into the energy of play. There is no right and wrong in play. It just is. And with play, you're at the heart of the child. And we need the hearts of children's when we're doing this. There's an innocence in this. Doesn't mean we're blind or we're not discerning, but the innocence of the experience is important. So we're not clutching it. It's soft. People dropped dead in front of him, and he brought them back to life. And I was listening to his testimony going, all right, God, I get you. You're telling me something. Can I believe it now? You've been teaching me for the last while. Can I believe it now? And of course, the first person I need to practice this on is me. I talked about the black goo. The reason this is all making a big loop and coming around to make sense. Anti-life, anti-matter, black goo. The antidote to that is commanding life. I command life to my thoughts. Anywhere I feel like, what's the point? I command life to my thoughts. Anywhere I feel like I don't want to be here, I want to die, I command life to my thoughts. Right? Anywhere in my cells in my body that I said I hated you, I don't love you, you're useless, you don't work right, you're dysfunctional, you're causing me pain, I command life back into my cells in my body. Now, take a breath, right? Because any of you that are experiencing physical pain, this is tough. I know, I've been there. I've been there. Especially if we're given diagnoses. Because they're spells. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. You're totally out of reality. Which reality do you want to be in? Do you want to be in that one? And that's a reality. Do you want to be in this one? That's a reality too. Or do you want to say, wait a minute, what else is there? What else am I open to? What am I a yes to? What am I a no to? What is life? And what is death? Everlasting life. Life for now. Everlasting life. Life with conditions. No conditions. Okay, you have the natural laws of the universe and stuff. But everlasting life, right? Diagnoses of death, right? You're always going to be sick. You're always going to be unwell. You'll always be mentally ill. You'll always be fat. You'll always have pain. You'll always be sick. You'll always be stupid. You'll always be ugly. You'll always be. The I am is being misused. This is distortion. You'll always be poor. That's a great one. You'll always be powerless. Every time I'm saying that, by the way, the light language is I'm doing what I'm saying, but I need to say it so it's landing with people. None of this is true because I am the truth. And in my truth, I command the source of all that is through me in love. For I am love, and I am made in the image of that love. With this knowing, all things are possible, and I am open to all potential realities in the here and now, including the reality of me being well. See yourself well. Including the reality of, I want to say wealthy in all things. Time, love, experiences, money, community, your purpose. It doesn't mean that you'll only have love bliss all the time there, because it's a spiral. You're going to move through things and move out and up again, right? But you're on the path. Loitia, you're in alignment. Amye lihoakate. Roondakamasamate. If you're with me up to now, and I've been speaking quite a long time, I didn't know this was, I don't even know. Ooh, little question in my head's going, do I even post this? I'm being told stop, allow it to be. It doesn't have to be perfect. And not everybody's going to watch this. But those that need, even if it's one person that needs this, I'm sending this to you for my love, because part of my old story was they can do it, but I can't. Well, they're different, they're special, or they've had it easier, or they're more gifted, or they have more resources, or whatever it is. It doesn't negate the real life experience that you are in. It doesn't negate that. But at the same time, opening up to possibility is the very first step. It's the how. Oftentimes we can logically understand that there is this possibility, we just don't know how. We can invite in the how. That takes the open heart and humility. I'm going to say humility. It takes softening. And it takes just even a crack of, what would it be like for me to believe that that's possible? It depends on where you're at on your journey. We're all at different phases. But all things are possible. I'm going to say this out loud. One of my gifts is being able to see that in everybody. There's very few people I struggle with, so I don't want to say it's every single person in the whole universe, but I see them. I see this. I see the light of their gifts. Like, I can see people's gifts. That's there. I see that uniqueness within them. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's not the same as mine. I kind of have to say, I don't covet it. But I love doing soul readings for that reason. I love moving into that field and going, wow, look at this soul. And at the same time, that soul might be experiencing something really hard and difficult, and has yet to remember that that's them as well. And that's why witnessing is important as well. Wait a minute, I see this is you. Feel it with me. So we witness not just the dark, that needs to be done, but we can also witness the light together. Because it's not always one or the other. And that timeline I drew as a spiral is both. It is both the dark and the light. And is there a balance? Is there a harmony? Is there a better word? Coherence, right? Because anything that's dark just wants to be seen and recognized and brought back into love. We're not deleting it out of existence. It's coming home to truth. And then it's moving into truth. So this is the first card. Wow. Second card. Ooh. This is what's coming in with this wave, right? Break the chain, ancestral patterns, healing, rewrite. Oh my God, rewriting the future. This is exactly what we're just talking about right now. Would you be open to the possibility of? See yourself well. Now, we did this and we did this in the Saturday group, Quantum Hypnosis and Samba. This is I was told this is what you're going to do. You're going to bring them to the past, where whatever it is, that needs to be healed, needs to be witnessed, needs to be acknowledged, needs to move into love. You'll then bring them to the future, past, future. You'll then bring them into the future and let them feel that frequency of that future version of themselves. merge, you know, get your messages and whatnot, and come back into the now, because everything is now. The past, the future is the present, but it's integrated. And that's the source timeline, right? You can, if you didn't join me on Saturday and you want to go a bit deeper into this, it is a version of a timeline healing. Please do. The links are up there. It's 1660. It's very, I wanted it easy, accessible, affordable for everybody. Euros. So that's there on my page. So feel free to go and do that. And it's also nervous system resetting. Go and do it. Follow the exercises. It's also got heart mind coherence. Follow that. It's got your intention setting and your vision. What is your vision? As well as your intentions. And then what are you letting go of in the past? What are you calling forth in the future? Let's merge it into one timeline. Higher, right? The higher imagination. Masuyati, timeline traveling. To be in the frequency of, just like that man, just saying it now, just like that man that had his testimony that he could bring people back to from the dead to life. And this blew my mind, because one of the things he said as well, he brought back numerous people, like we're talking 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kind of numbers, right? Big numbers. One is a lot. And he got a phone call from his eldest son. Dad, I have bad news. And he's like, what? The younger son, my brother, is in hospital. He's like, okay, where? We'll go. He's dead. He's been dead for hours. He's in the mortuary. You have to come and identify him. So he told his wife, can you imagine getting this news? He told his wife, and they got in the car, and she had big faith. She witnessed him as well doing this, right? Doing these feats. And their parents, they love their child. Of course, he said, I was feeling grief. I was having thoughts like this can't happen, and despair. And then he remembered, wait a minute. This isn't the truth. I know my son is to have a long life. I know my son. It's like a knowing. My son is not dead. And then he did the same thing he did with everybody else. And he saw his son alive. And he brought forth that energy, that power. And it was an hour drive. When he got there, the kid had been dead 5 hours. He said his child was on a mortuary slab with a tag on his toe. And he was naked, and they had a sheet over him. And he said when he walked into the mortuary, the kid was bolt upright, talking to the workers that were there, freaking out, absolutely freaking out. And the son that was waiting for him, perfectly healthy. Inexplicable, miraculous. But that's the power that he wanted to convey in his testimony, that we all have. And that power is gifted to us through that frequency. That's the frequency wave that's going to come in for those of us that are ready to receive it and embody it. And start that minute, like you want to call it, start that work, that purpose work, that ministry that they are here to do. Now, there's going to be builders, there's going to be communicators, there's going to be vision holders, there's going to be those that are the healers, there's going to be those that are creators. It's going to look different for everybody. But that power is there to bring life to what is dead, to bring life to what is distorted. And that's the creation of New Earth frequency. That is rewriting the frickin' future. And you can see, like, she's outside the cave. And she's calling everybody else to come out into the light. You can't forget and stay inside there, forgetting who you be. You must come out into the light. And you must trust and believe. If you ask me what are soften. You ask me what are the frequencies of that wave? Can you feel it? Can you feel the potential that's there? It is not going to land the same on everybody. It's not like that wave comes in and by September, people are going, boop, rise up. Yeah, that potential is there. Obviously, there is a time like that. But it's going to be coming at the capacity that we're ready for, which is why I'm really like, let's get ready, guys. Let's get ready. Are we resetting our nervous systems? Are we grounding? Are we looking at what our thoughts are? What are we up to? Are we dedicating this? Are we dedicating ourselves to this? And there are times I'm not. There are times I don't want to. And that's that up here, and that's my nervous system. And then it's like, okay, let's reframe that. Which is why I think actually being in community is going to be really hard because, really important, because it's going to be very hard to do this alone. And maybe that's my own limiting belief saying that. It's possible, obviously, but I feel personally it's important for us to keep a connection with those that hold that same vision. Because ultimately the vision that I'm talking about is the one for me, for my life. It's connected to the vision I got back in 2018. All of these new kids coming. I have to swallow saying that. Whew. These generations of children that are being born. Some of them are already here. And I was brought to the heavenly realms while I was unconscious. I'm going like, how much do I say? Back in March. And one of the memories I hold that when I came back out again, I woke up again. I was having a little procedure. I didn't fall unconscious. I had a little procedure. They put me under for like a couple of minutes. And the information I had instantaneously, the knowing, was that I had been brought to the heavenly realms. And then I was brought to another dimensional realm where all of these spirit children reside. And I was shown the groups of these soul groups and the decades, like, some of them are for the next 10 years, 20 years, 30. I was shown up to 100 years. And then I was shown into 1,000. I don't remember anything after 1,000. Very, very little. Other than I'm going to say, the kids after, they call themselves a third coming, which kind of indicates the second coming is sometime between now and then, isn't it? And I don't know any of this. I don't know. But it just made me kind of laugh a little about that. But I have to say, and I have to wonder, they're all riding a wave in. That's the frequency they're riding in as well. These are the children that are here to anchor. We're still in the process of it coming apart. They're here, and we're starting the foundations, right? Like this has been going on for years, 100 years, 200 years, like way back. And Dolores Cannon talks about the volunteers, the first wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave, fifth wave, sixth wave, whatever wave we're on now. I have no idea. But they were like 50s, 60s or something. But I even think it's before that, right? It just wouldn't have been as obvious. So there's more and more and more of us. Anyway, those kids are coming, and we are the bridge. We are the holders of that vision to allow them to come through into that frequency bandwidth. There's a lot on that. I'll talk about that another time. Final card. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. Lemuria, heaven on earth. It's happening. Wow. I had a session yesterday, a BQH session with a lady who's very magical. And she's going through some things. But I was talking about that, like we are the heaven on earth. We are Abunda Bashmaya Nidkrashma. We are the Tete Malkutach, right? Heaven on earth. That's the kingdom within us. That's what we're here to remember. And it's happening. I think I said that very word. I was like, what if it's a yes? What if it's happening right now? And I was asking those what if questions to allow the energy to move into that space where you're like, it's not like guarded and cut off. You're kind of going, oh, okay, what if? And that's like a door is creaking open, right? What if? What if I just? And then a little comes in, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's not so scary. What if? What if it's as easy as just receiving? Wow, what if? That's what we're here, creating the heaven on earth. It's happening. We're in it, ladies and gentlemen. We're in it. We're in it. Is this the second coming? We're in it. We're in it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm playfully asking those questions. But we're in it. Wow. Call back your power, cut the cords, soul retrieval, clearing ancestral patterns, healing, rewriting your future, creating heaven and earth. It's happening. You cannot make up the way these cards have been pulled. That is absolutely magical. Thank you. I was saying I haven't worked with cards in months. And now I'm back with the cards. There you go. How playful, how fun. Thank you. So for many of us, our new gifts, our old gifts will become more expanded. Our consciousness will expand. The circuitry systems in the nervous systems, obviously, will shift and change. I'm seeing morph, the word morph, morphosize. I don't think that's a real word, but it's like the nature of our systems are morphing. Morphing more into light as well, is what I'm hearing. It's going to light up our systems in order for us to safely receive this information, because it's coding. We must clear our codes. We must clear our storage banks. We must clear our memories. That's an interesting one, isn't it? I'm using computer analogy here. We must clear our memories to increase our capacity to receive the new. Akiana, and it's not even receiving the new, to remember all that we be. And they're more like, I'm seeing like a jump start. I'm seeing two images coming in, like, a crank to jump start a car. Those codes are like jump starts. Crank the car to life, right? But I'm also getting the impression of, the pads they put when they're like 3, 2, 1, clear, and the person's like brought back to life with the electrical pulse. I'm seeing it as both like you're being cranked and you're being brought back to life. So being turned on, woo, turned on, and you're being brought back to life. Okay, that is the frequency. Are you listening to what your thoughts are telling you about yourself? Are you understanding what is true and what's not true about you? Are you understanding what's true and what's not true about your thoughts, whether they're chaos thoughts or catastrophizing thoughts or worry thoughts or projecting thoughts or judgment? I was working a lot on my judgment as well. That's come up a lot. Wow, I say that out loud and I feel in my heart like how I judge myself. Oh, Mary. Which means, and this obviously concerns me, if I judge myself this way, that means unconsciously I may be projecting that out to everybody else as well. Not on purpose. I would never want to do that on purpose. Right? And if that's true, is that judgment true? No. Do I have to carry it around? No. That's the judgment of failure. Not good enough. All of you could just list them all off. Blah 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 blah. Har am tuid. Norum drahatra. Ehia asha ehia. That's what these frequencies are, so I'm just playing them. I am that I am. These are the God frequency tuning forks. Ooh. Nauru umtkayatra sumalakwasi mato me ekiata tu ishiti amtu udrum akiakala hamsamane e uramdaka sinyamate etikiakru utote nale hedriaka uso. Whenever you take a breath, you can close your eyes. Hands on the heart, masuya samasikiakali amtra utoti. And with your hands on your heart as you breathe in, and soften your body again. I want you to think of a beautiful place. It might be a meadow, a woods, a mountaintop. It may be by the beach or the sea, wherever is very beautiful for you. A field of flowers, whatever it might be. And sense yourself there. Feel yourself there. What does it smell like? Feel like? Is it sunny? Is there a light breeze? What are the sounds like? Are there birds or animals, or is it just stillness, isness itself? And breathe. In and out. In and out. And I want you to feel something that makes you smile. Think of something or a person that makes you smile while you're in this beautiful place. Maybe a pet. It may be certain types of animals. It may be the sound of running water. It may be that you're able to forage here and pick some delicious fruit. Taste it. Whatever would make you bring a smile to your face. And breathe. Because you feel good and warm, safe and comfortable here. Daya kama samle naturam da etiatkar nevesi ma aswa sam sama oram de. And your body feels good here. Soft, supported. Nothing to worry about. Here you can just let the cares of the day fade away. Sa'amusukia sate imma satoram. Deviat atquasi surome. Abase imbor. Abase makor. Navlir nabdur amkema. Uram nyam. Yanar orati avose emakwa etiat likia kur umtre har or emyamo kuram dade Wasa. Breathe in. That was to help open the heart, regulate the nervous system, release anything that's been stored in your capacity banks, soften to the sitting space. And I'm being told to say it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to feel your feelings. In fact, it's necessary as you traverse these timelines. We are at a convergence point, Amsiatiakatka, on earth and in this now history. Osokia sam yeviatati. Convergence points enable us to move back into a 0 point, which is your memory banks are cleared. Your capacity storage facilities are expanded. There is no pressure in your body, in your mind, no compression, no restriction, no separation, for this is the ultimate connection point. Would you be willing to receive the source of all that you be, the Christos, Sophia, Magdalena, if you will, the Shekinah, Ruach, spirit that is life-giving, Siam Sukoyachi. And if you are, receive Aviam Tere. Do you acknowledge that you do not have to be good enough? Do you acknowledge that you do not have to have actions done or created? You do not have to try or prove or effort. You can simply be here, now, breathe, presence, soften, and receive. Breathe. I'm going to invite you all to feel, sense, visualize, imagine, allow the impression of that light, that plasmic force light, that Christos frequency, spiral light, golden crystalline, Masia Sia Tia Sakwa. The Turum to Itria Kata Atuti Atria Trete and say, yes, I receive. Yes, it's happening. Hello, me. I'm sorry if you weren't ready before. Please forgive me. I'm sorry if you're feeling. And if there is a feeling there, say it out loud. What are you feeling? Please forgive me for holding on to that feeling. I now choose to move it through, to let it go. I love you. Thank you. That feeling may come from a thought or a situation. You can track it back if you wish, you don't have to. But bring compassion and forgiveness there as well. Siyam no kuruntate ishikiakate. I am that I am. Eya Asher Eya Uku Etiat and Gurati. You are loved. You are loved beyond measure. You are loved beyond comprehension. You are loved utterly and completely. You are loved through all time, all space. You are loved, loved, loved through everything that you have experienced, everything you have witnessed, everything you have gone through. You are loved, and I love you too. Sometimes we need to hear that. Love you. I bid you farewell. And if any of you want to explore this more, explore it deeper, my links are on my page. And you can message me, reach out. Share your own vision. Share your own intuitive hits. I'd love to hear them in the comments because they're all fractals, like you give a fuller picture. Because I feel like a lot of channels right now are bringing in similar things, but might be another perspective. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that amazing? And you'll know what's true. You'll feel it as truth. I will say that, bring your discernment everywhere. Right? And that's important when we're listening to people bringing in information or sharing it or interpreting it, that they have discernment as well. They're not tuning into anything from the alternative timeline, right? But the truth is always felt in the heart. I hope you felt that as well. Love you.